Hello, broadcasters. Welcome to episode 266 of the StreamYard Live Town Hall. My name's Geige, and I'm here with Dan, of course. Dan, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks to everyone who's joining us on another Super Bowl Sunday. It's last 6 years we've done it on Super Bowl Sunday.
Yes, we've done town halls for a lot of Super Bowls, but yeah, we certainly appreciate it. For anyone new here, Dan and I are the founders of StreamYard. We do these town halls every single Sunday at 6 p.m. Pacific, and we do them for a few reasons. One is to stay in tune with all of you, go through the same flow that you all do with your own shows and productions. Two is to answer any of your questions. That's why we're calling it Ask StreamYard. So if there's anything you'd like us to touch on tonight, feel free to leave it in the chat, and we'll do our best to get to as many as we possibly can. And three, I always mention the three pillars of StreamYard, which are ease of use, stability, and professional stream. So if you've got those three things, StreamYard is the tool for you. See folks tuning in from all over the world tonight. Nice to have all of you here. We got Joshua from South Carolina. I think I saw Kentucky and San Diego. Great to have all of you here. Marianne, as usual, from Australia. Before I forget, we have some awesome shows on StreamYard. We have YouTube channel reviews with Dee and Daniel, the second Saturday of every month. Really fun show. If you're looking to grow on YouTube, they give sort of individual channel advice, which is helpful to get a perspective on a specific channel with how to think about things like, maybe thumbnails or your audience analytics, stuff like that. And then we have Enhance Your Live Streams the last Tuesday of the month with Nick Nimmin, who also is a pro when it comes to all things video. So check that one out for your specific live streaming questions. And one thing we've been doing at the start of these so that we get to know a little bit more about you and you get to know a little bit more about us is a fun fact. And given that it's the Super Bowl, we figured the fun fact could be, do you have a particular preference in terms of who wins tonight on the Super Bowl? I assume it's kind of a silly question because I assume people watching are maybe not as invested as folks not tuning in tonight. But maybe you got
quite a few people probably
watching.
You
got both on at the same time.
Yeah. Football is not my main sport, I would say, so I'm definitely not too invested. If I had to pick one, though, I would probably pick the 49ers. I always thought Joe Montana was pretty cool. Obviously, he hasn't been there for quite a while, but still like the team because of it. How about you?
Awesome. Yeah, I'm similar boat to you. I probably would pick the 49ers just because I know more folks from San Francisco, and my dad lived in that area for a while too. So always kind of been a fan of the Niners, so it'd be kind of cool to see them win. And they've also not, I think, won a Super Bowl for a long time, so that's always kind of cool to see too. A team that hasn't won it for a while.
Yeah.
All right, we'll get to the questions in just a second here, but we do have an exciting announcement for tonight, and that is a new feature specifically for OnAir. So we have something called OnAir private registration. So I think a couple of weeks ago we announced the ability to limit OnAir webinars or OnAir live streams to particular domains. So for example, if you were a business doing something like an all hands, you could limit it to only people with mybusiness.com can actually watch that webinar. And this is basically the next level of granularity, where you can actually upload a CSV with all of the specific participants that you want to be able to attend or watch that webinar or that live stream. So this is really, really good if you're doing something where, say you have a CRM or a paid course or something where you want to limit who has access to that, but on an email by email level, you can actually just upload that email list into your StreamYard on air. And now those folks will be able to watch that on air, and they will only be able to see it if they have access to that email, because there will be a code emailed to that particular email for them to be able to watch it. Very, very cool feature that I think unlocks a lot of pretty exciting use cases. Were you going to walk us through a little bit, Dan, of the...
Yeah, I can screen share this. So let me just present here. Make sure I get the right tab. Cool. So for anyone who's never created an on-air webinar, it's basically, you've probably seen it at the very least. So it's just this third option here when you're creating. So you create an on-air webinar. I've already created one. And if you just go into on-air settings, there's a whole bunch of stuff in here. We're constantly adding more stuff. So there's all kinds of settings for branding, registration. If we go to the registration tab, so that's where the privacy settings are now. So we've got our custom registration fields, which we launched a few months ago. The new setting is here. So as Geige talked about a couple of weeks ago, we launched the ability to restrict to domains. So if I want to limit it to where only people from, say, the company I work for can watch it for something like an all hands, that's what the restricted domains is for. But the new one is private which, as Geige mentioned, means I can limit exactly who actually has access. And I would say there's really, so I just turn it on here. We don't support custom registration fields once you make a webinar private, just because you're basically uploading them from a separate file anyway. So it's kind of expected that you're already, if you needed fields, you've collected them somewhere else, because there's users not actually having to fill out the form anymore. So it gets rid of the custom registration fields. But there's really kind of two big use cases I would say here. Number one is what Geige mentioned, where if you're using a CRM or some kind of form building tool, and you just you're just collecting emails and users somewhere else, and then you want to bring them over to StreamYard, it's really great for that. You just make it private and then upload a CSV that you've downloaded from the other tool. That's kind of the first big one. The second one is you don't necessarily need to use a CSV. It's just if, let's say, you have an upcoming webinar in 5 days from now, and you only want to allow registrations for a short period of time. So maybe, you want to tell your audience, like, hey, you've got 12 hours to register, and it's like a very exclusive short amount of time. You would just make it public for 12 hours and then just switch it to private, and then people can't register anymore. And we basically just show them a page that's like says registration's closed. You can't register anymore. So really good for the case where you do want to have some kind of public registration for a while and then shut off access and not allow people to register anymore. You just switch it to private. Very, very simple. And like always, very curious if there's any, for anyone who's planning to use this, if there's anything you'd like to see kind of added on top of this. Always looking for feedback.
Absolutely. Cool. We do have a couple other smaller ones to mention as well, but let's get to some of the feedback and questions here. Joshua says, will there ever be a more advanced overlay builder? That's a good question, Joshua. So we definitely have talked about and have explored, like, how can we make it easier for folks to make overlays and videos and images and assets for their live streams. I'd be curious to learn more about what specifically you'd be looking for in an overlay builder. Like, do you specifically mean like a tool to make the overlay, or do you mean sort of like a more integrated experience with StreamYard, like sort of like a dynamic overlay that's tied to something happening in the studio? If you could let us know.
Yep. I'd also be super curious if you use overlays now, and if so, what you use to create them at the moment.
Absolutely. Rob has a question specifically about the new on-air functionality. How do they receive the codes via email? Where do they enter the codes? So they receive the codes from the StreamYard on-air web address that just emails them a code like, hey, you've successfully registered and you've been invited. Click this link and type in this code, and they basically just enter the code when they click the link to watch the webinar, right, Dan?
Yeah. They'll basically, when they go to the page, they'll put in their email, or they'll have already gotten a code. They basically just need to use that code and enter it on this page, and then they can watch. If that makes sense.
Awesome. Let's see what else we had for tonight. Jared Duke says, question, what is the difference between a webinar and a live stream? That's a good question, Jared Dukes. I think different people would give you pretty different answers. So in some ways they could be very similar. In some ways they could be pretty different. I think generally speaking, when someone says a live stream, they generally mean something that is much more public and potentially at a bigger scale. So maybe something that's going live to social platforms and whatnot, and to a large audience. And a webinar, registration is often tied to it as well. Like, oftentimes if registration is required, people have to put in their email in order to view the content. That usually shifts it from being a live stream to more of a webinar, but there's definitely some overlap between the two. I'd say registration is probably the biggest, most common one I see in terms of like when someone will use the word webinar versus a live stream.
Yep. Yeah. And in the context of StreamYard, when you're on StreamYard, like we call it on-air webinars, it's basically our version of webinars. And obviously you can do a live stream, which basically means you're streaming out to social. So YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, etc. For webinars, you're basically streaming to StreamYard or to your own website. You can kind of choose between the two or do both. So it's much more kind of a private experience. And like Geige said, registration is a big part of that. So webinars typically are more private, more registration. Sometimes just done for different reasons a lot of times too. With a live stream, it's often kind of, building community, chatting with your audience, whereas webinars often will be used for like a very specific type of event or, selling a course or something like that. It's just a little more targeted with a more specific purpose behind them a lot of times.
Yep, absolutely. Yogesh says, why can't we stream to 2 different LinkedIn accounts at once? So this is something on LinkedIn's end where they, in order, I think, to limit the amount of like duplicate content happening across LinkedIn, they want there to only be a single stream going to LinkedIn at once. So that's sort of something on LinkedIn's end, if that makes sense.
Yep. Yeah, they basically don't want duplicate content on LinkedIn.
Hey, Michael, hope you're doing well. Hey, guys, great show. Any plans to add more than one extra camera? We're certainly open to it. The main reason it's only one for now is just because with each additional camera, there is more processing that happens on folks' computers and whatnot, but we're definitely open to it. One of the more common things I'll see, maybe not more common, but one good solution I'll see when folks have maybe like a significant number of cameras or maybe more advanced types of cameras is they'll use something like an ATEM mini or other type of mixer to feed those cameras into, and then put that and then connect that to the computer as a single source, and then use that as sort of a switcher, like a hardware switcher. But we're definitely open to it. Alfred, I see your question about the volume being low when using your AirPods. I would reach out to support. We have 24/7 support. If you go to StreamYard.com/contact, there's a little live chat there. AirPods, there's tons of people that use AirPods, so you should be able to use your AirPods fine. I would double check that maybe like when on your playback watching it on StreamYard, maybe the volume on that is just low. So I'd maybe try downloading it and make sure that it is actually low volume, but support can help you troubleshoot.
Yeah, and you can, if you need to, if for some reason it's just like maybe something up with your AirPods that makes them low volume, you can crank up the volume on StreamYard. Like you can control your mic volume on StreamYard. There's a setting for that if you need to. I would first check to make sure everything's kind of working as expected with your AirPods themselves.
Absolutely. Let's see here. Awesome, Strange Suspicion. Hope you continue having success. Dave says, hey guys, would love to have a reschedule option for OnAir. I needed to move the OnAir by a day and could not do so. I had to cancel and get everyone to re-register. Yes, definitely understand that one, Dave. Any other thoughts on that, Dan, other than we plan on adding it?
Well, you should be able to edit it now. I'm just thinking, is it more a problem that like all the emails were already sent?
You mean we have I guess I should know this. I thought we hadn't actually added the ability to reschedule.
It's possible only my account has access, so I can text really quick.
Yes, if it's not currently out, Dave, as you can tell by Dan's comment, it's something that we're actively working on adding if it's not already available. But,
yeah, it should work. Like I've tested it out a fair bit myself, so it should work. I'd just be curious, I guess, Dave, if there's like, if it was specifically an issue of like emails were already sent or something like that, because you should be able to change it on StreamYard. Or maybe it was already past the start time. I can't remember if we let people reschedule after the start time is passed. But yeah, you should be able to reschedule it.
Cool.
It is just unfortunate for the emails and stuff if those already went out.
Yeah. Lewis says, thanks for everything. Of course. Thank you, Lewis. When will there be hotkeys for overlays? That would be helpful when switching studio layouts. So I don't have a specific date for you, Lewis, but one thing that I've sort of alluded to a few times now is we are working on a similar to sort of what we did with custom layouts. We basically tried to make it where if you just want to use the default layouts and you want it to be super simple, you can do that. But for folks that do want that extra level of control, we have the ability to sort of create your own custom layouts and have that level of control. We want to do a similar, under that same philosophy, do a similar thing when it comes to the run of show and overlays. So I think you'll be excited about what we have coming there, which will be similar to what you're asking for there. Gallardo says, when are you going to create an app? So we actually did release an iOS app not so long ago. The first version of it is specifically for joining as a guest. Part of the reason why we did it on iOS first is just the support for some of the technology we use to do the video, like the video communication and the streaming is not super well supported on Safari. So to give folks the best experience, specifically if they're using an iOS device, we wanted to give them the option to use a native application. So yeah, you can check that out now. And we are working on also adding a producer version as well. Anna says, question, music background editing, is that a possibility? I'd be curious to learn more, Anna, in terms of like what type of editing you'd like to do. Because I mean, you can upload any type of background music you want in the music section. So in the sense that like you could edit it yourself and then upload it. But if you mean, I would just be curious to learn more about what you mean. Like, would you want to actually edit in StreamYard itself?
And yeah, I'm also curious, do you mean like during the show you want to change it, or is this a post-production thing? So you already did the show and maybe you want to like swap out the background music for something else? That'd be helpful to know.
All right. Let's see here. Chuck says, is there a way to limit followers or subscribers to be able to win giveaways on the giveaway selector? So there isn't now, but that's a cool, it's definitely a cool suggestion. I mean, one way I could think of, you could kind of do it, but it would probably only work on certain platforms. Is on some platforms, you can turn it to subscriber only mode, where only those people can comment in the chat. So you could kind of try to do it like that, but then as soon as you turned it off, other people could do the keyword. But it's a cool suggestion, Chuck.
Yeah, like say on YouTube, temporarily switch it to members only chat.
Right.
Do the giveaway. Of course, it might frustrate the non-members, but
yeah,
I assume you want to do this for a reason. So yeah, change it to that. Ask, put in, don't tell them the keyword until you've done that. Do a few giveaways and then switch the chat back. Yeah, it's a bit of extra work. And you can't do that through StreamYard. They just don't expose that functionality through their API. So you have to manually do that on YouTube. But it's pretty easy to change the chat settings.
Cool. So yeah, not the perfect solution, but hopefully work around in the meantime. Let's see here. Christopher says, is using guest destinations a way around the LinkedIn limit? So you can, if you have a guest who also wants to stream to their LinkedIn page, that does work, right? Like you can stream to your own LinkedIn page and you can also stream to their LinkedIn page. I wouldn't recommend using it to do it on your own page, just because LinkedIn specifically has that policy for a reason. But
yeah.
All right. Let's see here. Dave says, didn't see the option to reschedule. Yeah, Joe, I think I saw a couple other comments that apparently it's under the three dots. There's an option to edit, and it's within that.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. The same way you would, if you've ever edited the title for a live stream or something, the 3 dots on the broadcast table, that should allow you to do it. But I'm still curious though, maybe you tried that and for some reason that didn't work for you. But yeah, that should work. And then the emails is really the tricky part if they've already sent out emails to people. But like the reminder emails will have the corrected time and everything. So people will still get like a 1 day and 1 hour reminder email that has the right time. And you could always send an email blast to people who have already registered if you wanted to.
Awesome. Let's do maybe one more here, and then I want to get to some of the other updates for tonight. Let's see. American English with Brent says, probably the only one who wants this. Is there a way to copy and paste all the banners? I love the new transcript option after a stream. So there's not a way to copy and paste all the banners, but it definitely has come up, Brent. So you're not alone, like the ability to sort of like export the banners or import banners. So definitely noted. Like I can definitely see like how you might want to have something where you've typed it all up in a Google Doc and be able to get it in easily. So noted.
Yeah, I'd also be curious what the reason is that you want it. Just thinking there might be maybe like another way to solve whatever the underlying problem is. I assume maybe that's something to do with post-production and editing, and you want to have it organized in a certain way or something. Yeah, just curious to learn a bit more about exactly what you need them for.
Thanks for the clarification, Anna. So yeah, I think this is around the music editing stuff. So post-production, like to add an intro, outro music for my podcast, just like fade in and fade out. Cool. Yes. Or so we're going to say something now?
No, that makes sense because she's asking about editing background music.
Yeah. So we are actively exploring that, Anna. I don't know if you've checked out the like after you finish a recording or a stream, we've added a lot of very cool stuff to the StreamYard editor. There's transcripts now. If you want to do captions, you can now easily add captions to the stream. And we are looking into adding more functionality around like, hey, I just want to quickly be able to add, like an intro video or intro music. So stay tuned on that. All right. Let's get to some of the other quick ones I wanted to mention. So relatively small quality of life improvement, but did want to note it. Something I've ran into myself. So previously you could only ban users or put them in timeout for YouTube comments coming in. But now you also have the option to just delete that YouTube comment. So if there's an inappropriate comment, but you don't actually want to fully ban the user, you can now just delete the comment. Sort of nice thing to have.
Yep, from the studio specifically. You've always been able to do it on YouTube, but you can now do it through StreamYard.
Right. Yeah, that's good to note. And the other one, in case you missed it, is you can now publish videos longer than 20 minutes to YouTube and Facebook. It's also tied into that editor I was talking about after you're done your StreamYard recording or show. Previously, it was shorter than that, but this was definitely a highly requested feature, was to be able to upload longer videos than 20 minutes to especially places like YouTube. So happy that we can now do that. All right, let's see some of the other questions we had for tonight.
Worth mentioning, because I don't think we actually said this at all, Geige, the privacy setting for OnAir, I believe, is rolling out early next week. It's not fully out for everyone right this second.
Yeah, I should have mentioned that. Yep, good comment. Cool. Bun says, will there ever be something that can tell people that you're AFK, like away from keyboard, or online or offline without talking because I need it? Yeah, I think the easiest way to do that, you have a lot of different options there. So there's a few different common ones I see. One is someone just puts up, like similar to the overlay we showed at the beginning of the stream. I guess I can just show you really quick. They could just make something like this, but instead of it being an overlay like this, it just says be right back or AFK or whatever you want to put on it, and then mute yourself or remove yourself from the stream so that they're not hearing you in the background, or just use a longer video, like play a video while you're gone or something like that. So you have a variety of options there.
And I also assume you're talking about viewers, like you want the viewers to know you'll be right back. If you're more talking about other people in the studio, maybe there's a whole bunch of you and you have your camera off or something, you just post in the private chat. But I assume you're talking about viewers.
Captain Chris says, is there an ETA for hosting on iOS? We don't have a specific date, Captain Chris, but it is actively being worked on by our iOS team, a producer version of the iOS app. Also, thanks for the clarification there, Brent. So teach English lessons, I can't talk English lessons. So it could be a bonus to give members all of the banners on a Google Doc. Good to know.
Cool.
All right. Should we go ahead and start queuing up the giveaway for tonight, Dan?
You bet we should.
Folks will have good odds. There's slightly less people due to the Super Bowl, so you got a good chance tonight.
Yep.
All right. I think many folks are probably familiar, but if you're not, we always do a giveaway towards the end here. To be eligible, all you have to do is type in hashtag the yard. And if you ever want to run a giveaway like this yourself, if you just go to StreamYard.com/giveaway, we actually made this same tool available for all of you to use. And there's a video walking through how to do it, but works exactly how we're doing it now. You can just screen share it with your own custom keyword. And tonight we'll be giving away a StreamYard duck and the StreamYard sweater. We'll give you maybe 10 seconds or so to get in your hashtag the yards.
Cool.
All right. Let's see if we had any other questions here. See a few more ones about hotkeys tied to overlays. Yeah, in case you missed that, it is something that we're sort of doing it in a unique way, but we are working on a more sort of advanced, similar to the custom layouts, an advanced version that would give more flexibility with specifically tied to run of show and overlays. All right, is it still climbing up? It's still slowly.
I think we're good. I think we're probably good. Ready?
Yeah. Good luck, everybody.
All right, for a sweater and a plush duck.
Pride.
So,
thanks so much for hanging out with us tonight. You just want a brand new StreamYard sweater and a StreamYard duck. If you can send an email to contact@streamyard.com, the team can get that shipped over to you.
cool.
All right, let's see if we had any other questions here. Mental Impact says, I do a show 4 nights a week and love StreamYard. Also, Mental Impact, super happy to hear that you're having success. Awesome. We did actually have probably don't have too much time here, but we had a couple questions for you guys as well. So maybe I'll mention some of those here. One of those was if there's been any feedback, it's relatively new, but we are very excited about it. Feedback when it comes to captions for shorts and reels. So I did briefly mention it before, but now after you've done your show and you're in the StreamYard editor, you can actually add captions to it in post. So really nice if you're looking to pick some memorable clips and post those to something like TikTok or Shorts or Reels. The most immediate feedback we've gotten is like, hey, we really need the ability to edit the captions themselves, which we're working on. But if there's anything else in addition to that, definitely let us know. Cool. Joshua says, I run a talk radio station. We use StreamYard to have cameras and broadcast to X, Facebook, and YouTube. Awesome, Joshua. Happy to hear that.
I saw one question about, I just forget the name of these things. Member emojis.
Yeah. So
member emojis, for anyone who doesn't know, is basically on YouTube. You can have different member tiers and have emojis kind of for each thing. Or okay, that's the wrong name. Someone will correct me in the chat for what that is. But there's those types of emojis, and then there's the ones where you just have custom emojis that your members can use that, is only on your channel. It's not like things that are available across YouTube. YouTube doesn't expose those. Oh, I just found it. YouTube doesn't expose those through their API. That's why we don't show them on StreamYard. But we've given them that feedback, and I'm hoping maybe at some point that is something they would allow us to actually have access to. So hopefully at some point we would have that.
Awesome. Michael says, how do you show a full screen graphic with yourself on the stage and still keep audio? Yeah, absolutely, Michael. So it will keep audio by default. So like if I just click an overlay right now, I guess I can just show you really quick. If I just click the overlay, you can still hear me. If you don't want that, you just click yourself to remove yourself from the stage.
Yeah, the other thing you can do as well is, it's not going to look as good. I think you probably answered exactly what he wants. I was thinking you can do something with backgrounds too in the audio avatar setting and just turn your camera off. But yeah, what Geige said is the cleanest. If you just go into the brand tab, upload an overlay, show it on screen. That's the simplest.
Doug says, can we upload them to SY? I assume this is referring to the emoji stuff there.
Yeah. Yeah, we've considered maybe doing something like that. Cool. That basically allows people to upload them and have their own custom ones. It is a lot of extra work, I would say, but for you guys, like for us, we'd be fine adding that, but you'd have to kind of upload them
extra steps.
Yeah.
Yeah, something we could explore. I think we have time for one more here. Zahara says, does StreamYard separate audio from video? So it's up to you, Zahara. So we offer both formats. So if you're just doing a recording and you just want it to be a single mixed file, the nice thing is that we have that for every single stream you do. It's automatically recorded. Obviously, if you're just doing a record only, that's also recorded. But not so long ago, we also added local recording. So if you are using local recordings, that will have individual tracks for both audio and the video itself. So you get those nice ISOs, which are pretty helpful for stuff in post, which is nice.
Yep.
All right. With that, this was episode 266 of the StreamYard Live Town Hall. Thank you all so much for hanging out with us on Super Bowl Sunday. It's always a pleasure getting a chance to be here with you and get your feedback and be able to answer your questions. We'll see you next week at the same time, Sunday at 6 p.m. Pacific.
Perfect. Thanks, everyone. See you next week.